So generally they write, it is like making policy like Vishakha guideline, you remember. So it is a case in which they try to make a law as long as government brings any such legislation. Demand ही नहीं था, it is not also as a proposal to reform. This proposal to reform क्या है कि election commissioners should be made equal to chief election commissioner, means they should be removed in the manner judge of Supreme Court is removed. Reforms. So we were talking that day reforms. We told lots of points. So basically, let's say you told selection committee. This. So which we'll deal a bit separately also. We told also about secretariat. This you should know that institutions, let's say that CAG. The CAG has its own personnel, which we say Indian Accounts and Audit Service. Similarly, Election Commission of India is also a major institution. And when it is a major institution, so it needs its huge staff. Because electoral roll maintenance, first you have to maintain electoral rolls. Then on continuous basis you have elections, this state, that state. Then you have to deal against all those malpractices related to elections. Let's say it is called violation of model code of conduct, those things. Election related offenses, all offenses, let's say that. Then let's say that elections and funds, let's say that, generalization of funds. Those political parties, individual candidate, they have to, there is a capping on their funds, then there is a campaign related limitation, there are many other things. So it has to also, let's say that keep a track and let's say audit the funds which they utilize. Like each candidate plus party, their fund utilization, are they following the rules that we have into place, the system that we have into place, that in case of fund utilization? This, as of now, Election Commission does not have capacity to audit that individual candidate. This, you can say this, we have 545 seats, let's say that members in Lok Sabha elections, or you can say that 43. You have 543, let's say, candidates, and for 543 candidates, you will have, let's say, multiple candidates, at least 540 multiplied by at least 5. This. So can you audit whether they are following the capping limit, expenditure? This same thing plus assembly, let's say, the assembly to huge ho jayega. He does not have capacity to audit MLA and MP, those who are candidates in elections, whether they are adhering to the expenditure limit. The expenditure limit you have fixed. So who will audit? How can you know that a particular candidate has followed the expenditure limit? This. So, model code of conduct related cases, expenditure limit related cases, other such practices, registration, recognition, disqualification, defection, बहुत सारी चीजें हैं. The Election Commission of India should be another, let's say, institution like CAG, which should have its own personnel. This, and they should have expertise in that. As of now, it is dependent on, let's say, government. It will seek the government help, government and officers will come. So those officers will come on the government side, you can doubt on their independence. This, because, and they have not worked with Election Commission, and there will be ad hocism. That's why Election Commission of India is not able to enforce properly Model Code of Conduct. इसलिए कि every day hundreds of cases are there. Every day hundreds of cases where the speech you can say that, or the practice you can say that, or social media you can say that, those things will be not, let's say, qualifying to Model Code of Conduct. That's why it is being said that it should have its own independent secretariat and then it should have adequate staff. The next point that we have told, it is in this context. And it should have its own personnel. जिस तरीके से Indian Audit Service है, you can have also Indian, let's say that, election service, और कुछ भी जो नाम आप दे सकते हैं. Right, this, so that it can recruit its own personnel. That aspect you can see. Electoral roll exercise itself is very challenging. You should know that. Maintaining electoral rolls, frequent mobility of people. You should know that कि people have mobility. Like say कि you are in UP, now you are settled in Karnataka, Bengaluru. तो आप यहाँ पे आपका वोटर आईडी था, यहाँ पर आप यहाँ सेटल हो गए, अब यहाँ पे वोटर आईडी बनाओगे. अभी तक कोई ऐसा सिस्टम नहीं है कि ये वोटर आईडी हो गया तो ये नलिफाई हो गया. Right. As far as my knowledge is concerned, right. हो सकता है कि उसमें ऑप्शन होगा, लेकिन मान लो कि आपका कोई अभी वो नहीं है, मतलब कि क्लियर नहीं है कि आप बेंगलुरु में रहोगे कि नहीं, राइट, या दिल्ली में रहोगे कि नहीं, बट आप वोटर आईडी बनाना चाहते हो. बस, तो बेसिकली लेट्स से इट हैज लॉट्स ऑफ वर्क. दैट्स व्हाई इट शुड हैव एडिक्वेट कैपेसिटी. एट द सेम टाइम लेट्स कि वी शुड हैव what we are saying, that secretariat, selection committee, and then we wrote next other things we have told that ki election commission, I guess this point we may have also told, election commissioners should also be removed in the manner chief election commissioner is removed. Have we written this point? You add this point also. It is also one good point. But weaknesses, so it will be also one step. Election commissioners should also be removed. Election commissioners should also be removed in the manner. Election commissioners should also be removed in the manner Chief Election Commissioner is removed. Chief Election Commissioner is removed. That should also be one point, right? Now let's write issues related with its name is big. I don't want to write that big name. Its name is like this. Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners, appointment, condition of services, Term of Office Act 2023. This. It is a Rajya Sabha, PRS paper. It is good. You can read it. Yes. I will upload on portal or you can download it. Basically, let's say the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court in judgment says there should be selection committee. Consisting of PM, Leader of Opposition and Chief Justice of India. For appointment. Yes. Leader of Opposition. Basically, a PIL was filed and PIL was talking that there should be transparency in the functioning of Election Commission of India. And it was in this context that finally Supreme Court passed an order in 2023 that there should be a selection committee which consists of PM, Leader of Opposition, CJI. And then they mentioned that as long as government brings a new law, means new legislation, or government brings its own legislation or framework, this court order will apply. Means the order will remain valid as long as government brings any such law. Right. So generally they write, it is like making policy like Visakha guideline, you remember. So it is a case in which they try to make a law as long as government brings any such legislation. So this is how they did it. Now, उन्होंने mention किया कि as long as you make a law, तो गवर्नमेंट ने बोला ठीक है फिर हम लॉ लेके आ रहे हैं. तो गवर्नमेंट ने जब लॉ लाया तो दिस इज हाउ गवर्नमेंट ब्रॉट दिस लेजिस्लेशन. Yes. And it is a legislation to teach a lesson to Supreme Court. Indirectly. कि अपने लिमिट में रहो नहीं तो हम ऐसे कर सकते हैं. बस. तो उन्होंने क्या किया कि और इलेक्शन कमीशन को डिस्टॉर्ट कर दिया. होता है ना कि लो झेलो हम ये कर सकते हैं. तो क्या किया उन्होंने, तो लॉ लाया, उसमें उन्होंने सिलेक्शन कमेटी और बोला, सबसे पहले बोला कि तुम नहीं रहोगे, मतलब चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया विल नॉट बी देयर. बस. तो सिलेक्शन कमेटी में कौन रहेगा, पीएम. कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर किसी सिलेक्शन कमेटी में होता नहीं है, बट न्यू पॉलिटी में हो सकता है. बस सिलेक्शन कमेटी में कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर कोई होता नहीं है जनरली, अदरवाइज इट विल रिजल्ट इनटू एग्जीक्यूटिव डोमिनेंस. इन सिलेक्शन कमेटी, जनरली सिलेक्शन कमेटी इज फॉर ट्रांसपेरेंसी. The transparency will come in selection committee when you have Prime Minister, Vice President, Speaker, Leader of Opposition, Chief Justice. This is how generally they are. In some selection committees, sectoral Home Minister is there. There can be Home Minister also. This, like say ki CIC, I guess, CIC or CBC, right? This, in that case. देयर कैन बी होम मिनिस्टर बट नॉट कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर. कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर मतलब कि आपको चॉइस है, किसी को भी कोई भी कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर मेंबर हो जाएगा. एंड लीडर ऑफ अपोजिशन और लीडर ऑफ लार्जेस्ट पार्टी. The logic given by the government is that there is separation of power. Government says why CGI is dropped, because there is separation of power. Hence, judiciary should not have role in appointment. Then, what they did? Election commissioner. Status will be equivalent to secretary. Status will be equivalent to salary, equivalent to cabinet secretary. Cabinet secretary. Salary will be equivalent to cabinet secretary. अभी किसके था? जज ऑफ सुप्रीम कोर्ट. दिस, तो उन्होंने इसको this. Now they have also a search committee. Search committee. But names can also be taken. From outside. मतलब सिलेक्शन कमेटी बाउंड नहीं होगी, तो फिर सर्च कमेटी का मतलब क्या है? When it will not be bound, let's say, if selection committee will not be bound by search committee recommendation. This that you can consider. इन सब चीजों की जरूरत ही नहीं था, डिमांड ही नहीं था. It is not also as a proposal to reform. This proposal to reform क्या है कि election commissioners should be made equal to chief election commissioner, means they should be removed in the manner judge of Supreme Court is removed. That should be, let's say that. But it is not being done. The proposals for reform, not reform. Next is secretariat. There is a proposal to give independent secretariat. That is not done. Rather, what they have done is these things which were not needed. This. Therefore, this law is weakening election commission. Election Commission of India, as it gives more control in hand of executive. This. That is how the thing. What you will say? Yes. PRS has given good analysis, almost same thing. This is how they will talk. This search committee, etc., selection committee. Even when there is vacancy in this committee, ये भी एक flaw है. Yes. मतलब अगर वैकेंसी होगा तो भी सिलेक्शन कमेटी. फिर सिलेक्शन कमेटी का मतलब क्या है? 3 ही लोग हैं, उसमें भी वैकेंसी. And in case of vacancy, still committee can take decision. It is another unique type of point. This then this is how we'll find that election commission salary equivalent to cabinet secretary. This may lead to government influence. This is how. Otherwise, salary was equal to Supreme Court judge. In past, salary was equal to Supreme Court judge. ये सब जान लो, prelims के लिए help करेगा. This Supreme Court judge, but now it will be equivalent to cabinet secretary. जबकि रिफॉर्म क्या होना चाहिए? रिफॉर्म ये होना चाहिए कि इलेक्शन कमीशन एंड दिस देयर सैलरी शुड बी आल्सो चार्ज ऑन कंसोलिडेटेड फंड ऑफ इंडिया. Yes. It is also a misnomer, you know that Election Commission of India is a constitutional body of that stature. Its, let's say, salary expenditure are not charged consolidated fund of India. Right. This only constitutional body, major, let's say that, which salary and allowances are not charged on consolidated fund of India. Lokpal we have created, and Lokpal salary is charged on consolidated fund of India. Statutory body. But elections pillar already, you know, electoral bond while dealing we have told that how elections and free and fair elections are pillar of democracy. This. So instead of improving it, what we are going? Diluting it. This. It performs quasi-judicial function. That's why their status should not be equal to secretary or cabinet secretary. This. This is B.R. Ambedkar's statement, let's say, as we were saying. The B.R. Ambedkar has said this. In fact, there was debate in Constituent Assembly. We should make Election Commission of India independent by taking measures, but they lack consensus. When they lack consensus, they left it. So wherever grey areas have been left, we have not tried to improve. Rather, we have tried to take its advantage. This. Then what he says? This. Election machinery should be out of the control of government. This. That time B.R. Ambedkar said this. And it was left to Parliament. It was left to Parliament to decide this, and this is how Parliament has decided this. So this is how the key features of this. Yes, इसमें एक अच्छा चीज है कि उन्होंने eligibility criteria define किया है. Right. पहले नहीं था. Positive में I will tell you what is the positive aspect. Right. Let's see that who has recommended what. You will find that in recommendations, Election Commission of India has been recommended. Sorry, CGI has also been should be the part of selection committee. This Chief Justice should be part of this. Then constitution, let's say, this bill was introduced. The Rajya Sabha Speaker, Lok Sabha Speaker, leader of opposition, this. So it has a different, let's say that neither Prime Minister nor Chief Justice. Then Prime Minister, leader of opposition. This will find that it is National Commission has recommended PM, leader of opposition. Leader of opposition in Rajya Sabha is Speaker and Deputy Chairman. Why, if you remember polity type, or when will teach it. Basically, Speaker is from ruling side. The Deputy Chairman is generally considered from opposition side. It becomes a balancing act. But if both are from the same party, so then the two other will be balancing it. Leader of opposition in both houses. This then Law Commission. The Law Commission also recommends Chief Justice. This. Then Supreme Court, it has also mentioned Chief Justice. Law Commission ये बनाया किसने था? Present government. It is present government. It was constituted by the present government headed by AP Shah. It is the last commission on electoral reforms which will mention somewhere. Right. And it recommends Chief Justice. So don't they understand कि Chief Justice will result into separation of power? इनको polity नहीं आता. And Chief Justice is part of Lokpal also. Chief Justice is part of Lokpal, CVC, CIC, right, CBI. Yes. So he is part of CVC, CBI and Lokpal. So where is separation of power concept? If separation of power is at one place, so separation of power is at another place. और separation of power हमारे देश से तो आता नहीं है. तो जहां से आते हैं उनका देखते हैं क्या हाल है. बस वो कैसे अरेंजमेंट करते हैं. So in these countries you will not find that there is only executive role. This South Africa, there is constitutional court that is equal to Chief Justice. This representative of how human rights court. This then representative of gender equality. Public institution, government है ही नहीं इसमें. This so it does not have government. Let's say United Kingdom जिसका मॉडल हम पार्लियामेंट्री डेमोक्रेसी फॉलो करते हैं. It has this House of Commons. This House of Commons will approve appointment of election commission. This and then it is initiated by Speaker Committee. Government initiate भी नहीं करती है. Government does not initiate. Rather, it is initiated by also legislature. This we can consider, and the US already has practice of Senate approval. This again, it is Canada also it is approved. This is how the case writ petition Anup Barnwal versus Union of India Supreme Court judgment. This he may have presented it. So if you take from this standard also, whatever we practice, whatever the committees have recommended, from that perspective also, selection committee does not meet a good standard. Although the positive thing is that now there is a selection committee. Hey, positive thing is that is a selection committee. But that selection committee, as far as composition is concerned, it is not representative of the three organs of the state. Means it does not indicate that the selection committee will ensure less control of executive over election commission as B.R. Ambedkar wanted. Hence, Election Commission of India still will not be as independent as it was expected or as the judgment wanted to make it independent. That is how we have to write it. So let's write on this. Although the new law has some positive provisions, like first, eligibility criteria has been defined for the first time. Eligibility criteria has been defined for the first time. Like first, integrity. Integrity is second. Knowledge in conduct of elections. Knowledge in conduct of elections. And next, status to be equal to Secretary to Government of India. status to be equal to Secretary to Government of India. Secretary to Government of India. Next, it also introduces first time. It also introduces first time selection committee. Selection committee to bring transparency in appointment. Bring transparency in appointment. Transparency in appointment. This next, it introduces a service condition. It introduces a service condition. Service condition that in case of reappointment, the total tenure of a member should not exceed 6 years. 6 years. So, however, when the law is analyzed, law is evaluated by taking into consideration first the past recommendations by committee and commissions, like within that first Dinesh Goswami committee, 1990. National Commission to Review the Working of Constitution. National Commission to Review the Working of Constitution, 2002. Next, Law Commission, 2015. Law Commission, 2015. Next, Supreme Court, 2023. The selection committee does not meet. The selection committee does not meet the criteria laid down by them. That also included Chief Justice. Second point, from the standard of other countries' practices. Like South Africa, US, UK, Canada, that they do not have executive dominance in appointment of election commission. They do not have executive dominance in appointment of election commission. Election commission. In fact, UK, which has also parliamentary democracy, has a practice of approval by House of Commons. In bracket, CAG appointment is also approved. And therefore, the selection committee does not meet democratic standards for transparency in appointment. Transparency in appointment, which was the main rationale behind Supreme Court judgment in Anup Barnaval versus Union of India. Anup Barnaval versus Union of India, 2023. Change paragraph. In fact, the way political parties are considered pillars of democracy. Similarly, Election Commission is also considered the most important institution for conducting free and fair elections. And hence, this institution should have public faith. For the sake of faith of people in democracy. Which basic ingredient is to bring transparency in appointment of election commissioners. Institutional integrity of democratic institutions like Election Commission of India is very important for functioning of any democracy. Especially promotion of substantive democracy rather than merely having procedural democracy. In bracket you can write electoral democracy. This. So two terms you should know that. तो हम लोग ज़्यादा focus कर रहे हैं procedural democracy पर. This has been highlighted by the government document itself, parliament document. That there are two types of democracy. Democracy तो और भी कई तरीके से आप देख सकते हैं. But in this context, the procedural is conducting election, announcing election results, this all, you can say that. Substantive is about quality aspect of democracy. And quality will come only when you have institutions with institutional integrity. Otherwise, people will not have faith in elections, and then same, let's say it will happen. And that is how we can conclude the things related to Election Commission of India.